On a map, Croatia looks like someone drew a lightning bolt along the Adriatic and then said, "Yep, guard that." Small population, compact armed forces. And yet, this coastline, these ports, and the way Croatia plugs NATO's southern flank into Central Europe might make it the most important military power you're not watching. Think of it as the hinge on a heavy door. You don't notice it until the whole house starts moving. And lately, the house has been creaking. 3 decades ago, Croatia fought its way to independence and then sprinted toward NATO and the EU. But the real inflection point is now. Russia's war on Ukraine has reset European defense math. The Balkans are warming with geopolitical friction, and NATO's logistics must run north-south as easily as east-west. Croatia sits exactly where those routes converge. It touches the Mediterranean by sea, Central Europe by road and rail, and the Balkans by terrain. It's a bridge with bite. So Zagreb is upgrading fast. Air, land, sea, cyber, industry, the works. Start with the Air Force. The aging MiG-21s are gone. In their place, French-built Rafale multirole fighters, 12 in total, deliveries split across 2024 to 2025. With modern sensors, long-range strike options, and NATO-friendly interoperability, the Rafales aren't just a pilot's dream, they're the region's new air traffic controllers when things get tense. The first 6 landed near Zagreb to fanfare, with the remainder arriving in 2025 and full combat capability ramping up after that. On the ground, the army is shedding old skins fast. Croatia has begun fielding M2A2ODS Bradley infantry fighting vehicles, part of a larger package that includes refurbishment in-country at Đurođaković, training, and stage deliveries through 2026. This is a giant step from legacy M80s to a NATO-standard mechanized punch that pairs beautifully with Western artillery and air support. And those tanks you keep hearing about? Croatia signed a letter of intent with Germany in late 2024 to buy up to 50 Leopard 2A8s, Europe's premium main battle tank, under a plan that also envisions off-ramping older M84s. This isn't a rumor mill item. Defense ministers put ink on paper in Berlin. Spotters even noted interim Leopard 2A4s at the big July 31st, 2025 parade in Zagreb while the 2A8 pathway takes shape. Translation: the armored spearhead is going from respectable to don't test it. Aviation lift is getting sharper too. Croatia is building out a fleet of UH-60M Blackhawks. After initial birds arrived earlier, Zagreb moved in 2024 to purchase 8 more, bringing the fleet toward a dozen. Exactly the kind of reliable, interoperable lift NATO always runs short on when crises break. Range matters, and Croatia is buying it. Washington greenlit the sale of M142 HIMARS launchers with precision rockets, and the option for longer reach munitions down the line. Once fielded, even a modest Croatian battery changes the calculus along the Adriatic and into the Balkan interior. Logistics hubs, bridges, and aggressor assembly areas suddenly become very nervous. At sea, the Croatian Navy is quietly resilient. New Omiš-class coastal patrol ships, OOB-31 and OOB-32 UMAG, now serve the Coast Guard with modern sensors and a stabilized 30mm gun, complementing Kralj-class missile boats that carry RBS-15 anti-ship missiles. Still a very unpleasant surprise for anyone who misreads the Adriatic. There's active discussion of extending coastal strike reach with newer RBS-15 variants that stretch out past 200 kilometers. The message to unfriendly hulls: hug your own shoreline. Cyber and space aren't afterthoughts. Croatia has been knitting together cyber defense capacity, working toward NATO's CCDCOE community, co-hosting regional cyber training federations with Slovenia, and running multinational exercises. On the space side, Croatia formalized cooperation with the European Space Agency, ECS status, giving its industry and universities access to programs that matter for SATCOM, ISR, and precision timing, the invisible skeleton of modern defense. One more modernization card: drones. Homegrown firm Orca has emerged as a domestic UAV FPV innovator, with systems showcased at the July 2025 military parade. That puts Croatian engineers inside the most explosive part of modern warfare: attritable, smart, swarming drones that multiply the effect of every soldier and sensor. Hardware without habits is just expensive metal. Croatia's been aligning doctrine and training to NATO standards for years, participating in the US-led immediate response exercises and harmonizing leadership courses under alliance benchmarks. The bigger structural move came in 2025. Legislation to reintroduce a short, universal basic military training, roughly 2 months, to rebuild the reserve pipeline that faded after 2008. The bill moved this year, with implementation expected from 2026. Short course, big effect, because it restores a living, trained reserve that NATO can call on in a hurry. Readiness is also about tempo. Bradleys are already shooting live-fire tables. Rafale pilots are doing the night syllabus. Sailors are running Sea Guardian evolutions. Cyber teams are drilling against real-world TTPs. If you want the cheeky summary, Croatia is doing the unglamorous reps that turn a shopping list into a fighting force. And yes, somebody finally labeled all the power strips in the server room, a true sign of a serious military. Put a compass on Split and draw circles. Within 1 hour of flight time, you touch the Italian coast, the heart of the Balkans, and the busiest lanes of the Middle Adriatic. The ports of Split and Rijeka are dual-use logistics lifelines. Civilian commerce by day, NATO throughput if the balloon goes up. Croatia's long, island-studded shoreline is perfect for layered maritime defense. Patrol craft and coastal radars up front, missile boats with RBS-15s in the seams, and air cover from Rafales overhead. On top of that, NATO uses the Adriatic as a training and patrolling ground. Operation Sea Guardian and mine countermeasures rotations keep this water watched. A bad actor trying to slip anything past that lattice will feel very seen. Croatia can't be that important. It's small. So is your phone charger. Remove it and suddenly your supercomputer is a paperweight. Size is not the point. Location and connectivity are. And Croatia is a charger for NATO's southern grid. Croatian troops aren't homebodies. They've served in Kosovo under KFOR, in the Baltics and Poland with NATO's enhanced forward presence, and even crossed to Hungary on enhanced vigilance missions after 2022. The Navy has rotated into NATO's Mediterranean patrols and hosted standing NATO maritime group port calls. In blunt terms, Croatia is a net contributor and a reliable plug-in wherever the alliance needs a professional, medium-sized force that shows up with proper kit and a can-do attitude. Regionally, Croatia just co-launched a trilateral defense cooperation declaration with Albania and Kosovo, focused on interoperability, industry, training, and hybrid threat defense. That doesn't replace NATO. It thickens the web that keeps the Western Balkans anchored to Euro-Atlantic structures. Croatia's also a founding driver of the Three Seas initiative with Poland, linking energy, transport, and digital corridors from Baltic to Adriatic to Black Sea, nice for trade, essential for military mobility. Modernization is expensive. Croatia's answer has 2 parts: spend more and build more. The government hit 2% of GDP for defense in 2025 and publicly committed to 2.5% by 2027 and 3% by 2028-2030, crucially with a higher share on modernization and domestic industry. That's why you're seeing ammunition projects, local Bradley overhauls, and joint ventures like docking with Rheinmetall on unmanned vehicles. Translate JV as design here, produce, at least partly here, export with a prime. Meanwhile, established Croatian makers, HS Product, VHS-2/Helion rifles, Shestan Bush, ballistic helmets, shipyards turning out Omiš-class patrol boats. Give Zagreb something every NATO meeting loves: dependable supply lines for the alliance, not just for itself. Yes, this is industrial policy, but it's also strategy. When your own mechanics, machinists, and test ranges are humming, your readiness goes up and your dependence goes down. And every new batch of Bradleys rolling off a refurbished line in Slavonski Brod trains a workforce that can handle the next program, be it IFV upgrades or something with autonomous in the brochure. Croatia's doctrine is anchored in NATO: combined arms on land, layered defense at sea, integrated air policing in the sky, and cyber woven into everything. Practically, that looks like Rafale Bradley HIMARS choreography on land corridors, sea denial cells along the Dalmatian archipelago, and quick-reaction Black Hawks for disaster relief or counter-terror missions. The 2-month basic training coming online is purposely short. It's about renewing the reserve's muscle memory, not turning everyone into commandos. In a crunch, 19-year-olds who've learned to shoot, communicate, and integrate with regulars are a multiplier. It also boosts civil-military resilience. From wildfire response to earthquakes, roles Croatia knows too well. Here's the logic chain. The eastern flank runs on logistics. Logistics run on corridors. Corridors need a secure Adriatic gateway, and that gateway needs a country able to coordinate air, sea, land, cyber, and allies at speed. That country is Croatia. It connects the Italian peninsula and Central Europe to the Balkans. It underwrites NATO presence from the Mediterranean into Southeast Europe. Its ports are the south-north valve for any surge to the Baltics or Black Sea. And with Rafales on QRA, Bradleys in the field, HIMARS on the way, Leopards in the pipeline, and patrol ships on station, Croatia just put steel around the map. Budgets are signaling devices. Zagreb used the 2025 ASDA Defense Expo to say the quiet part out loud. 2% now, 2.5% by 2027, 3% by 2028, 2030. Weeks later, a full-dress military parade in the capital marked 30 years since Operation Storm and showcased exactly what's been bought and trained: Bradleys, Black Hawks, coastal patrol ships, and yes, distant Leopards looming. That's not chest-thumping, it's insurance. In the Balkans, clarity deters. Most important military power doesn't mean non-stop firefights. It also means the mundane: cyber incident response with EUCOM partners, maritime interdiction with NATO, wildfire support each summer, earthquake relief when needed, VIP airlift and medevac with those Black Hawks, and the steady diet of peacekeeping rotations that teach logistics discipline. If you want to know whether a force is serious, ask how it spends a Tuesday. Croatia's Tuesdays are booked. Some countries flex with giant parades. Croatia flexes by getting the procurement paperwork done. Trust us, nothing scares an adversary like a Balkan defense ministry that meets timelines. For NATO naval planners, the Adriatic is a reliable back porch to stage maritime security, mine countermeasures, and ISR. Croatian waters and ports anchor that routine. Standing NATO Maritime Group port calls to Split, Coast Guard patrols pushing out from Omiš and Umag, and RBS-15 armed fast attack craft in the wings all mean that any escalation across the wider Med is harder to spill north. Air cover is now credible. Rafales with modern A, 2A, and strike options can police the lane while coordinating with Italian, Slovenian, and Hungarian assets. The US doesn't need to base large forces here to feel secure. It needs a trusted gatekeeper. Croatia is volunteering for the job. Look at the troop movements. Croatian contingents rotate to Poland's EFP battle group, have deployed to Lithuania, and run EVA tasks in Hungary. That isn't tourist soldiering. It's practice with the exact units Croatia would fight alongside in a crisis. Staff officers learn the radios and the acronyms, logisticians learn the roads and the railheads, artillery officers learn whose drones they can borrow on short notice. The payoff is invisible until the night you actually need it. The trilateral defense declaration with Albania and Kosovo is not saber-rattling, it's a guardrail. It deepens interoperability, synchronizes training calendars, and signals to spoilers that the neighborhood is knitting itself tighter to Euro-Atlantic structures. Meanwhile, Croatia's defense relationship with Kosovo, mentoring, capability development, has been steady and constructive. Stability in the southern Balkans doesn't start with Brussels memos. It starts with officers who've trained together and industries building compatible kit. The way Croatia is doing industry isn't just import offsets, it's an ecosystem. JV with a German prime on unmanned vehicles, rifles and helmets that already export, ammunition plants being stood up, naval hulls built domestically, and drone innovators like Orca climbing the value chain. For NATO, that's resilience. For Croatia, that's jobs in Slavonski Brod and Osijek, tech transfer, and a reason for engineers to stay home. And yes, those Bradleys coming off the line with Croatian-done refurbishment are more than vehicles. They're proof of concept for a decade of sustainment. Everyone says they'll spend more. Croatia is actually doing it, with a glide path to 3% of GDP and an emphasis on modernization. The difference shows up in delivery schedules, not PowerPoints. Rafales on the ramp, Black Hawks in hangars, Bradleys at Gashinci, patrol boats commissioned, HIMARS paperwork through the DSCA system, and Leopard 2 A8s on deck via Berlin. When a country keeps to timelines, allies plan around it, and adversaries adjust. Croatia's defense plan is just beach patrol with better sunglasses. Correct, plus precision artillery, multirole fighters, armored infantry, cyber teams, and a logistics network that can move a brigade faster than your beach chair. Power in 2025 isn't only about who has the most jets or the heaviest tank battalions. It's about who sits at the critical junctions and can make everyone else stronger, faster, and safer. That's Croatia. It is a bridge between Central Europe, the Balkans, and the Mediterranean. A logistics valve for NATO, a disciplined contributor on the eastern flank, a local stabilizer with Albania and Kosovo, and an emerging defense manufacturer rather than a mere customer. So, is Croatia the most important military power? If you're counting divisions, no. If you're counting hinges, the places where the whole door of European security swings open and shut, then yes, Croatia is suddenly, deliberately, and unmistakably one of the most important. It doesn't need to be the biggest piece on the board. It needs to be the piece that makes the rest of the board work. And that right now is exactly what it's becoming.